Rejection. Rejection sucks. But most successful authors have been rejected at least once, probably multiple times by an agent or by a publisher. What are the things that make a manuscript get rejected immediately by an agent or a publisher? What makes agents and publishers toss a book right into the trash instead of looking at it any further? What are the things that keep manuscripts from getting eventually published? I'm going to tell you today all about rejection. I'm going to tell you about the top 7 reasons that agents and publishers will not even look at your book for a second more. And we're going to address those issues so that you can increase your chances of writing success. I'm also going to tell you what to do to deal with rejection when it comes your way, not if, when, how to deal gracefully with rejection, how to deal positively with rejection, and I'm going to tell you what to do when all else fails. Our goal today is to get you one step closer to being published. You ready? Let's go. My name's Karena Akhavein. I'm the founder of Spalmorum. I am a PhD writing coach whose mission in life is to take you from aspiring writer to successful author. And I do that by delivering smart tips, tricks, and information, as well as inspiration and motivation. And I do it in part through these videos. So if you haven't done so already, please subscribe, hit that little bell button because you'll want to know whenever a new video comes out. It is a shortcut to writing success. Let's get started. What are the top 7 things that cause a publisher or an agent to reject your manuscript outright, right away, no return? First, I think I need to discuss a little bit about how the process works because some of you don't know exactly how the industry works, and I think it's actually hurting you. Some of you think that you're just going to pitch your book directly to a publisher. Well, unless the publisher has actually requested your book, it doesn't really happen that way anymore. A book that the publisher hasn't asked for is considered to be an unsolicited manuscript. Those end up in something called the slush pile. Whether it's an email box or an actual pile, slush pile doesn't sound very good, does it? It's all the unwanted stuff. Rarely, an eager beaver little intern in the publishing company will wade through the slush pile and they will polish off your manuscript and they'll be like, this is amazing. And they will maybe suggest it to people in the publishing company. Maybe it'll get published, but that happens so rarely that it's actually more like the plot of a really bad book that would get rejected by a publishing company. See what I'm talking about? Okay, instead of pitching a publishing company directly, you are pitching an agent. The agent is kind of like the personal shopper who's basically between you and the publishing company. They are wading through, sifting through all the bad manuscripts to find the ones that are a perfect fit for that particular publisher. Specific publishers are looking for different types of books. So this is reason number 1 that you might get rejected by an agent and a publishing company. Reason number 1 is publishing is a business. So what are some of the things that make a book not a good business proposition? Maybe it's the wrong style. Maybe it's the wrong genre. So many books kind of answer certain trends. So if your book is about space monkeys and space monkeys aren't in the trend right now, they're not really selling right now, your book is not going to get picked up. Or maybe there are too many books about space monkeys and all the bookstores and outlets are saying we have way too many books about space monkeys. We have no more space on our shelves for space monkey books, and then your book's not going to get picked up. It might also be an issue of timing. Maybe your book proposal is coming kind of at the wrong time in the business cycle of the publishing company. They don't have the budget to produce your kind of book and there's not enough demand, so they're not going to extend themselves financially to publish and print your book. Also, publishing runs have kind of increased in number. Used to be that they would publish maybe 2,000 to 3,000 copies of a book and see how it did. Now they're publishing larger numbers, so they need to kind of know ahead of time that your book is gonna do great. More about that later, but that is reason number 1, is that your book doesn't really fit into the whole business plan of the publishing company and the agent knows that. Reason number 2 that you are getting rejected, you didn't query the right agent. What does that mean? Okay, when you are researching agents to query, you're gonna look up on their website, You're going to read up about that particular agent. Even large agencies have different individual agents. Each one is looking for something different. Agents like to read different kinds of books. They like to represent different kinds of authors. And if you are pitching a manuscript that is a memoir to an agent who only does books about dogs or something like that, or if you're pitching a thriller to an agent who only does business books, you're not going to get very far. Know what I mean? So make sure that you are pitching the right agent. Also make sure that you are pitching an agent who accepts actual submissions, because a lot of agents are too busy. They are no longer looking for submissions. They're too busy representing the stable of authors that they already have. So you need to look on the website if it says that the agent is accepting submissions. If they're not, you're only going to piss them off. They're only going to press delete. You're not even going to get a rejection letter. You'll probably just have crickets. You're going to be like, what happened? You submitted to somebody who wasn't taking submissions and they just ignored you. And that's not awesome, but that happens. And you can save yourself a lot of time and effort by making sure that you don't pitch to agents who don't want you to. Reason number 2 was you didn't query the right agent. Reason number 3 is you didn't query the agent right. Cute, right? Yeah. So you didn't query the agent right. What does that mean? There is a way of querying. Querying means to ask an agent, hey, are you interested in my manuscript? It's a question. You're asking them. There is a right way and a wrong way to do this. Some things are very specific to specific agents and specific to certain genres, but some things are pretty universal. Here's the universal part. Each and every agent has a specific way that they like for you to query. They like for you to submit your manuscript in a certain way. And if you don't listen to what that way is, if you don't respect their wishes, they are going to reject your manuscript immediately, no second chances given. So if they ask you for a synopsis of a certain length, if they ask you for a certain number of pages or chapters, or they ask you not to give them a certain number of pages or chapters, or if they ask for the full manuscript, follow those specific directions, because if you don't, they're gonna get pissed off. They're not going to think that you are somebody they can work with. They're gonna think this person doesn't listen to anything. They're probably gonna be a pain on a later date as well. Also, never send an agent a letter that starts with "to whom it may concern." You want the agent to know that you did your homework, that you know who they are, you know their name, you know what they're looking for, you know what they asked for. And if you don't do that, they're gonna get a little upset. So you probably want to make sure that everything there is kind of perfect. You also want to make sure that your query letter itself is really well written. If you mess up the query letter, the agent's going to think, how could their book possibly be any better? This letter is a little bit of a mirror into what your book's going to be like. And if you can't write well enough to write a short query letter properly, the agent's going to think, you know what? Their book probably sucks too. That may be unfair, you think, but come on, be a little bit fair. The agent doesn't want to read a load of crap every day. Make their life a little easier, and you may be rewarded with a possible representation. Reason 3 was you didn't query the agent right. Reason number 4 for why your book is getting rejected right away by agents or publishers is your book is a hard sell. I talked about the business aspect of everything, and this goes even a little bit further. So what do I mean by your book is a hard sell? Okay, maybe your book is in the right genre. Maybe it's the right, subject of book, but it's way too long, or it's way too short, or it's got a weird format that is going to cost too much money to produce, or you're insisting that it has to have like a mirrored cover, or it has to have glass pages, or it has to have a certain type of paper, or it has to have, a certain size to it. Nobody wants to hear that. That is making it so much harder for a publisher to produce your book, so much more expensive, and the agent's gonna try to pass because they don't wanna deal with all of those issues. So any author who tells me, yeah, well, my book is 500 pages, but you can just break it into a bunch of different sequels, unless you are a celebrity already, that's not gonna fly. Your book is gonna get rejected, my friend. Just to reiterate the business side of your book, if there is no market for your book, you're not selling your book. It's getting rejected immediately. So if you're writing something that's so obscure that you can't imagine more than a couple people being interested in it, why do you think an agent would ever accept that book? That is a rejection right away. Okay, reason number 5 that your manuscript is getting rejected immediately by agents and by publishers. Reason number 5 is a little bit harsh. You're a nobody. I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm saying that you are a nobody, that you don't have a platform, you don't have a presence online, you don't have pre-existing fans, you haven't proven that anybody wants to read anything you've written. You really need to start working on your platform kind of early in the game so that an agent or a publisher will know that you kind of have a built-in audience. Does that sound kind of lazy on their part? Maybe, but when you're an unknown author, you really need to do a lot of the work. You need to do a ton of the marketing. You need to do a ton of the advertising. Nobody's doing it for you because they're not going to take a chance on a newbie who's not going to do anything other than sit there and pray for sales. Another thing about being a nobody. Here's the thing. You don't necessarily need to be a celebrity. You don't necessarily need to have like a huge YouTube channel, though it helps. You don't necessarily need to have 1 million followers on Instagram, also helps. But you need at the very least to have authority. Authority is an interesting concept. Authority is that you are the right person to be writing this book, telling this story, or whatever. How does authority demonstrate itself? Either you have the diploma or the training or the following or the voice. So if you have natural authority, you're telling your story really well. You know your characters, you have an ease of expression and of language, and you're able to tell this story in a way that leaves no doubt in anyone's mind that you're the right person to be telling this, and that leaves no doubt in anyone's mind that you are capable of driving this point home, of driving the plot home, and of getting readers to think that you are an author, that you have authority. So if you can demonstrate your expertise, that is always a positive point that's going to avoid you getting immediately rejected. Reason number 6 that books get rejected immediately, and I'm saying immediately, is that right at the beginning, your book didn't grab them. So many new writers I know say, oh my God, yeah, my book starts off slow, but keep reading, it gets really good. Or they say, oh, I know that, I'm giving some backstory and then we'll get into it. My friends, that is not a way to start a book. I've said this before and I will say it again. The book beginning needs to grab an agent, needs to grab your reader. You don't get any second chances. If you're an unknown, nobody's gonna keep reading. Nobody's gonna give you the chance to discover the beauty hidden in the middle of your book. It doesn't happen that way. Agents are busy people, readers are busy people. Most books, even once you've published your book, have about a 30-page or less sample. People are gonna decide in that length of time whether they want to read your book or not. And if they're not excited from the get-go, delete or reject. So make sure your beginning is really well written. And then, of course, reason number 7 that your book is getting rejected, a lot of agents will ask for more chapters of your book, or they'll ask for further reading. And that's a really good sign. If they've read the first couple pages, they've read your query letter, and they like what they saw, they're gonna ask to read more. Do not disappoint them. Another reason you get rejected is that the rest of your book kind of sucks. So you start off strong, but then it kind of peters out. Your plot gets lost. Your characters don't get developed properly. The story kind of gets lost. People get confused. There's so many ways that you can lose a reader, and you need to avoid that happening right away. So many of you think that you're gonna get an agent and they're gonna polish your book, they're gonna make it all perfect, you're a diamond in the rough, and they're gonna fix it, and then you're gonna get it doesn't happen that way. That's not what happens. You need to get your book edited before you even pitch, because if you don't do that, you won't get a chance to have it edited after you've pitched, because it's gonna be rejected. So those are the 7 reasons that you get rejected really fast. And I hope that I gave you a few little tips on how to kind of fix those problems, how to avoid those issues. Basically, it boils down to listen to what the agent wants, listen to what the publishing companies want, and write the best book you possibly can, right? Those are the major tips. So many people kind of ignore those tips. I'm serious, it sounds obvious, but it's obviously not obvious because people don't do it. What do you do after a rejection? Rejection hurts, we've said that. How do you deal with a rejection best? Number one, do not respond to a rejection with a letter of abuse and insults to the agent. You definitely don't want to burn bridges, especially if they gave you kind of a personalized rejection letter. Take that as advice. Take it as something that's helping you. Do not sit there and ruin their opinion of you by being super immature and evil and petty. You really don't want to do that because people sometimes have a really long memory, and if you come across them again, you're going to be in big trouble. If you're lucky enough to get something beyond just crickets or a form letter in terms of rejection, if you're lucky enough to get something specific with a real piece of advice, really consider that and use that to improve your manuscript so that when you pitch again next time, you will be in better shape. I said pitch again next time. So many young writers will pitch. They'll pitch a whole group of agents and they'll get so discouraged that they don't actually repitch, or they don't keep trying to find new agents to pitch to. And this is a big mistake. So many authors that could have succeeded fail because they gave up too soon. And I don't want that to be you. So don't give up. It is so important to keep pitching after an initial rejection, possibly after you polish your manuscript a little bit more. Another thing is to be realistic about your work. Don't think, oh, my book's just way too smart and too awesome for them. That's why they rejected it. Most of the time, that's not the case. Most of the time, your book wasn't picked up because it wasn't that awesome. So make sure that you're being realistic. Make sure that you see your actual shortcomings and that you address them before coming at it a different way. Now, some people get so upset about all the rejections that they get sick of it. They don't want to deal with it anymore, and they decide to self-publish. Keep in mind that self-publishing is a whole other animal. You're going to need to do a lot of work beyond what you've done just now if you choose to self-publish. And a lot of these issues that made the agent or the publisher reject you are going to be reasons that are going to prevent a reader from wanting to read your book all the way through. So keep that in mind in your little noggin. Keep in mind also that the whole thing about the platform and the marketing and the advertising and all of that stuff, all of that has to be done by you, again, if you self-publish. So really remember that that's going to be part of your job at this point if you self-publish. Also keep in mind that if you've self-published a book, you are going to have a lot of difficulty selling that same book to an actual publishing company. It's not worth it for them to do all the legal work to get your book offline, off of Kindle, off of Amazon, all that stuff, and into their catalog. But here's a very positive thing, is that most successful authors are actually hybrid authors at this point, who both publish conventionally and who self-publish, depending on what their work is like. So this doesn't condemn you. If you decide to self-publish this particular manuscript, you're not condemned to be a self-published indie author forever. You might very well get a really lucrative publishing contract further down the road. That's it, you guys. I hope that this video about why you're getting rejected and what to do about it helped you in some way, shape, or form. I would love it if you would comment down below and let me know what you think. I'll be back next week with another video to help you guys with your writing career. And in the meantime, keep on writing.